In the news at the moment is the issue of whether or not it's acceptable for businesses to decline service to those whom they disagree with. In the USA, this has reached the headlines after a couple of photographers refused to accept a commission to photograph a gay wedding. This is a passionately argued issue, with many people suggesting that one should not be permitted to decline services on the basis of personal taste. On the other side, the issue is being framed in the context of freedom of religious expression, which is often a code phrase for personal bigotry disguised as religious expression. But it's a far deeper issue than the bigotry of an individual, encompassing freedom of and from religion, personal versus civic rights, and slavery itself. Many people instinctively argue that one should not be permitted to pick and choose customers on the basis of preference, be it gender, race, sexuality, or what football team you follow. However, most of the same proponents would have no trouble declining services to a child murderer, a rapist, a political despot, or even simply someone who had personally wronged them. We all recognise that there are occasions when it seems perfectly reasonable to pick and choose whom we serve. However, the right to service or not is like freedom of speech. Either you extend the protections to those we find abhorrent, or we allow anyone to discriminate for any reason. It's not a pick and choose issue. In Idaho this week we saw the repugnant effects of enacting laws that enables individuals to pick and choose those who they will serve. A new law has been enacted that permits any employee, including government employees, to decline service to anyone on the basis of sincerely held religious beliefs. This law has such wide-ranging ramifications that I find it inconceivable to believe that it will not be immediately challenged and struck down, because it means that if you are a woman, a Jew, black, gay, the wrong religion or whatever, that paramedics can leave you to die by the roadside, banks can close your account or theoretically insist that you move your mortgage elsewhere, and you can be declined the opportunity to buy groceries. This is the ultimate example of what happens when religious bigots rule the local legislature. Nevertheless, as vile as this law is, one can appreciate that if it comes from a genuine ethical motivation, no matter how misguided, that the principle is laudable in some ways. The principle that one has such strongly held moral convictions that one would sooner lose business than transgress those beliefs is one that I'm sure we all wish was evident amongst the almost universally corrupt body of US politicians, who kowtow to their unelected paymasters, and the massive legalised bribes that they provide in the form of campaign donations, consultation and speaking fees, and contracts for family members. Obeying one's moral code at any cost is a value so rarely seen that one can't help but respect the conviction, if not the specific object, of moral disapproval. Furthermore, there are few more fundamental rights in the civilised world than the right to withhold labour. Any employee of a company has the right to strike or quit work entirely for just about any reason, unless he or she has signed a contract prohibiting them from doing so. To insist on anything else would be a form of slavery, albeit paid slavery. Nobody should be able to insist that any adult be forced to work for a specific employer, or that he cannot decline to work if he is prepared to pay the price in terms of lost wages, customers, or even his job. Balanced against that right is the right of an individual group not to be discriminated against. In virtually all situations, discrimination by race, gender, sexuality or religious belief is illegal. This is because society, or the lawmakers who reflect and guide society's evolving values, consider such discrimination to be contrary to concepts of equality and basic human rights. In some ways there are parallels between whether or not a business is allowed to discriminate and freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is the most sacrosanct US right, although it's rapidly being degraded, with issues such as the NSA, freedom of the press, the Occupy protests, and more revealing the government's increasing desire to limit it. However, even within the framing of a right central to the Constitution, there are a number of exceptions that are not permitted, the most notable being hate speech and incitement to violence. The authors of the Constitution recognised, in their considerable wisdom back in 1791, via the First Amendment, that there should be a few restrictions on what you could use your freedom to say. In other words, they recognised that there were times when the rights of the individual to unfettered freedom had to be moderated in the interests of society at large. On the Young Turk show, Cenk Uygur suggested that perhaps businesses of less than 50 employees should be permitted to refuse to serve people, but large businesses should not. At first glance, this seems like a tempting compromise, protecting the rights of the individual to express his or her preferences whilst outlawing corporate or large-scale bigotry. But his argument does not hold up to scrutiny. In fact, it makes as much sense as saying you can rape the occasional woman just as long as you don't form gangs to do it. The fact is, the way that businesses of all sizes behave creates an environment of bigotry or progressivism. 10,000 small businesses refusing to serve same-sex couples is every bit as toxic as a large company like Chick-fil-A doing so. Society is moved forwards or retarded by the beliefs and behaviour of its citizens, individually and en masse. Personally, I think it would be poetic justice and hilarious to boot to see the Idaho lawmakers fall foul of their own bigoted laws as gay firemen, Hindu grocers and Muslim doctors refuse them service on the basis of their beliefs. But the fact is, discrimination is wrong. In sending that message, it's true that we may all have to deal with people with whom we disapprove. That's what it means to live in a civilised society. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please take the time to rate and comment, and it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe. Thank you.